So here we are in New York City. We just left the One World Trade Center, and here's a Starbucks.
So I wanted to head down towards the tip of this area. So this is really like around Wall Street area. And it's interesting because it's now developed, of course, to all of these businesses and other restaurants. We're walking down Fulton, and because it's kind of a Hamilton-themed weekend, I thought we would stop over to visit other Alexander Hamilton-esque places. But we do see a lot of these food carts everywhere, lots of cool statues. But I'm trying to find where Trinity Church is, because Trinity Church is the final resting place of Alexander Hamilton and his wife Eliza.
So here is Trinity Church. Looks really nice.
We actually didn't know first where to go because there's actually 2 cemetery lots, and all of these graves are from the very first inhabitants of New York way back when. So a lot of the epitaphs, all of the gravestones, a lot of them have been really faded over time.
And so it's from the
1700s. 1776.
So here is Alexander Hamilton,
Yes.
died 1804.
So he's actually like in the southwest area.
And this is where he is buried.
So it's interesting because you can actually still read what's written on his tomb. And in the front, of course, is his wife, Eliza, who lived for another 50 years after he passed away. He died in a duel with Aaron Burr, the prime minister then. And she opened up an orphanage. Right around them, too, is also the resting place of their son, Philip.
Firstborn son.
Who also died in a duel.
1801.
And that was part of the musical's history story. I also wanted to walk down Broadway because I wanted to see... The statue is really called the Fearless Girl statue.
But everyone wants to touch the bull.
Yes, everybody instead is touching the bull. And I don't know why, but the girl is actually in front of the bull, and we couldn't even look at this girl because everybody was surrounding her. And then we walked a bit more south to Bowling Green, and this small park, it's actually smaller compared to a lot of parks, was the very, very first park in New York City, the oldest park. And when they were doing the infrastructure, they thought it would be nice to have a place of respite, where they could relax and rest.
If it's the oldest park, how come the trees are so skinny?
They probably got whittled down,
or
they probably
they
replanted.
Yeah.
Probably, right? Like, things probably change around and everything. Like, I'm sure they moved a lot of things.
1733.
Like, not too far from that is another museum for the natives, right?
Yes.
Isn't there something like that? And actually,
this right here.
Right in front,
It's the National Museum of the American Indian.
So actually, that's a free museum, but we didn't have time to go there. And actually, not too far from there is also called the public burial of a lot of the...
This is where we had lunch.
Oh, yes. We went to Fraunces Tavern, which, again, part of the history of Hamilton is where they made all the revolutionary talks. So the other guys were all known as the Sons of Liberty with Alexander Hamilton, like Hercules Mulligan, Lafayette, and John Lawrence. And this is where they would actually get together. And there were a lot of other taverns, of course, in the area. And this is the oldest part of Wall Street. And they would have the street names like Pearl Street, Bridge Street, Water Street. You can guess what's being done in those streets. And this tavern is right front and central for all of their revolutionary talk, right?
So they had like a lot of... historical facts around on the walls. They had a museum upstairs as well.
Yes, but we didn't get a chance to go. And it was cool because like the benches here reminded me of like church pews. I don't know if they're actually the original furniture. They could just be used from old churches, but their food was very American fare. Like
you had
burgers, fish and chips.
Burger.
What did Tristan have again? A steak?
Yes. And so after that, we were on our way to see the Statue of Liberty.
So we started to walk towards the ferry. I thought about getting some tickets, but then the lineup was way too long, and it would have taken us a couple of hours just to get back and forth.
So we just got really close.
This is the closest we got, which is still kind of far. It's even further than like Alcatraz from the viewpoint.
It's kind of on a boardwalk.
Yes.
That's not a boardwalk.
And they did say that this was the best point to look at it, and it was close to some children's park around that area.
The water seemed dirty.
It wasn't clean, no. But this is the Battery Park area.
Yes. Oh, and this is where Hayden had his
so
merry-go-round.
I did see this. What was it called? It was a merry-go-round. You pay $5 for him to go around this...
What are they? Like underwater...
They look like fish, jellyfish, and...
Here he is.
He wasn't the youngest. but he wasn't the oldest either.
Were adults sitting on them, or was it just
I
kids?
think there's an adult if you had a baby.
Okay.
So he wanted...
You could have had him on your lap.
He wanted one that was going up and down, is what he asked. So
Yeah.
he got a chair that... So it looks like it's an aquarium. It actually looks really pretty from the outside. But it was a very hot and sweltering day.
Is this new, or because it doesn't look new?
Maybe newish. It probably wasn't there 10 years ago.
And then where are we going now?
So we decided to go back on the subway to go midtown.
Oh yeah.
Tristan wanted to go to this bookstore, this anime bookstore somewhere near Washington.
Oh yeah, and it was
Park?
difficult, the subway now, because it wasn't just a straight line. We had to
Juxtapose. It's like the blue line
some
this
maneuvering.
time, and then the parts of it was actually for repair, so we actually had to go onto the next subway.
Yeah, and so they had
Car.
like N's and R's.
Yeah, but the area that we're
This was a newer subway than the one we had
yes,
before.
it looks
like
cleaner.
electronic.
It looks cleaner for sure.
Oh, and then we saw this parade.
We weren't sure about these parades, but it looked like a cultural parade because they had like different cultures. Like there was the Mexican. Later on, we saw a Thai.
Yes.
And Indonesian kind of grouping. We weren't sure what the parade was. There was no one really I could have stopped to ask, and I wasn't sure if I should be talking to strangers.
And they seem like also like dance troops, maybe.
That's true. So this is around the Washington Square area, actually, when we got off. And this was also known to be one of the more expensive parts of Manhattan a long time ago.
Okay.
And I'm actually just finished reading Henry James's book, Washington Square. So that was, of course, based in this area from the 1800s, when people were kind of entering the Gilded Age.
But it was loud. A lot of
this
music.
This was very loud, and initially when we were looking for this place, we were going the opposite way, so that didn't help.
Yeah.
And then that took us over to the East Village, actually, when we're walking. The store that he was looking for was off...
What's this building?
3rd Avenue. That was... I couldn't figure it out. I was trying to figure it too.
It's nice. Oh, so this is the anime...
And he got
excited. It's a toy shop.
Yes, and these are the kinds of models he likes. You have no idea how many times we actually go to Spadina Street because there's one particular store.
But he was like, this was $200 at Square One, and here it's only $29.
And did he get it?
No.
No, so I don't know why he didn't get it.
So we kept walking upwards.
Yeah, so we ended up going to the Strand Bookstore from here because I'm like, oh, it's another 900 meters. Anytime we went for the next route, I'm like, oh, it's only another 1,000 meters. Oh, it's only another 850 meters. So
but these are like townhouses, I guess?
Yep. Brownstones. And they got really popular because the
Strand
population.
Bookstore.
Yep.
So
Strand Bookstore used to be one of the biggest bookstores in all of New York City. And it used to be known for their mile-long, I guess, blocks of books.
Oh, wow.
And this area actually had more privately owned bookstores until they were bought out by, the corporates. But they used to be called Literature Mile.
Okay.
And then we started walking up north more towards the Flatiron. And there's a lot of all these open market spaces, marketplaces that was very, I don't know, I guess weekend was full of this. What would they be called? Bazaars, marketplaces.
Yeah, because I don't think this would be here during the week.
Farmers market, yep. So we're reaching up past now Washington Square towards the Flatiron, towards Madison Square Park, actually. And we wanted, but this was still on Broadway. So Broadway actually goes quite the distance. It starts all the way down Battery Park.
Yeah.
And all the way up, of course, past Times Square to
But
Central Park.
around Times Square is where Broadway has the musicals.
Yes. And that's what it's known for. But it basically stops there. Does it keep going, Broadway? It does. It keeps going north all the way to Central Park. Yeah. And beyond Central Park. So it's actually one of the longest lines of road out there. But we just pretty much followed it until we got to the Flatiron area where they actually had more other stores. And one of the stores I was looking for this time was the Harry Potter store.
Yes.
And so it's a store just dedicated to Harry Potter.
That's going to be in the next video.